Good morning, guys. Happy Monday. I'm giving you guys a Wendy Williams vibe today with my coffee cup. We are here to talk the Real Housewives of New Jersey. A couple of things we got to go over: MTV Music Awards, a quick interview with Melissa Gorga, and then, of course, some information about Teresa and Tamra running into each other at the red carpet. But more importantly, we have Andy Cohen's response to Ramona accidentally doxing or basically posting Teresa's wedding invitation with the time, date, and the venue. So before we get started, guys, go ahead, hit that like button, subscribe to my channel, turn those notifications on. I wanted to give you guys a little bit more of an outside vibe today. It's beautiful out, so I thought I would do a video outside. If the audio is not great, then please comment below so that I know, and I will use an earpiece next time, or I just won't even film outside. So let's go ahead and jump in. First of all, what we do know is that Ramona is being invited to Teresa and Louis' special day in August, and Teresa sent such lovely, beautiful invitations that Ramona thought it would be a great idea to get online and post the invitation showing everyone how amazing and beautiful it was. And when she did that, she released the date, the time, and the venue. Okay, that's an important thing, guys, because number one, we have Idina Menzel coming in as the matron of honor. We've talked about it in past videos. If you want more information, check out some of my older videos on Caroline and the dynamic, because we know that Dina is Caroline's sister, and she is going to be the matron of honor. And we know that she was involved in a home invasion that involved her ex-husband orchestrating it, allegedly. And so she was very nervous already to be in the wedding if Bravo was going to film it. And she, had kind of made stipulations, allegedly, that she really didn't want anyone that was affiliated with the Manzos or that could run back and give them a lot of information on time, date, and location, because of the fact that the home invasion took place when Dina was home from California filming with Teresa, Juicy Joe, and the girls for Adriana's, either it was her confirmation or it was something, a religious milestone, okay? So that's number one. Dina doesn't want anyone to know where she's at, where they're going to be at, time, date, location, etc. Number two concern is now you have a paparazzi problem, because now everybody knows where your wedding's at, what time it's going to be, and where the venue's at. So, that is basically an open invitation, okay? Because it changes a lot of things. Events like that are kept secret because you don't want people sneaking in on the wait staff. They probably don't always even know who famous people are that are going to be, the event is for until it's taking place. I worked for a physician that would sometimes handle really big cases, with big football players. And so in our system, they wouldn't even list their name. They would be listed as a Jane Doe or, a John Doe in the system, and we wouldn't know who it was until they actually came into the office in a side door, and were seated, and either we saw them or one of the other girls did, and they let us know who it was. So in types of situations like this, venues, catering, the location, these people that work there don't necessarily know who the famous person is, because then you're gonna get, you could get people that try to make sure they work that night so they can get in there and get tea or take photos, or people are crazy these days. You just don't want people knowing the time and the date of your big day when we don't even know if she's filming it yet for Bravo either. So that could make a really big difference, because if she's not filming it for Bravo, then she could stand to make a lot of money on the side by selling her own photos, her own story to people, or OK Magazine. And if the paparazzi gets the photos out to the public before, she cuts a deal or whatever, it would definitely, decrease the value. If the photos are already floating around to the paparazzi, to people, everyone that wants to see them, then that means her own photos will be less valuable to sell, if that's the case, if Bravo's not filming it. Now, we have Andy Cohen's response, which is just so epic. He's on the Jeff Lewis podcast, and he says that when he finds out what Ramona did, he texts Teresa and says, "Oh my God," right? he says that Teresa texts back, I know, so low class is what she says. So then Andy texts Ramona and says, oh my God, Ramona. And she says, I know, Andy. And then she turns around and calls him, right? And he says it was a complete accident. It was not on purpose. Ramona just got really excited and didn't think about it and posted it. But I want to note something. I think it's really crazy that he says Teresa, this is what he quoted on Jeff Lewis, that she replied to his text message and said, can you believe it? ? How low class. So he made sure to include that Teresa said Ramona was low class, even though we know it was an accident. Teresa knows it was an accident, and she even said she's not upset about it. So that's what I mean, guys, when I say production, you know, puts their 2 cents in if they think that it's going to stir up some extra drama. I'm sorry, but they do. And this is a great example of Andy Cohen doing that himself. He's caught between, you know, his 2 favorites. We know he loves Ramona and we know he loves Teresa. So also, I wanted to say that on the podcast, Andy Cohen was asked, you know, if he would change anything, would he still, you know, cancel the Real Housewives of Miami? And he said, yes, he would have still canceled the Real Housewives of Miami. He said the ratings were down the last season that it was on, and even for that 4th reunion. He says the one franchise he really rooted for was the DC franchise, if you guys remember. If you are a longtime Bravo fan and you've been watching for a long time, then you know one of the Real Housewives of Washington, D.C. was her and her husband were, I don't even know what the word you would use except for liars. Like, they lied about their status and their stature in the community, and they snuck into a event at the White House uninvited, and they made it past all of the security bearers. They made it into the White House and actually got photographed inside the White House, and their name was announced, and they got in with no invitation, nothing. All they did was get really dressed up, be white, man, woman, and scooted right on into the White House with no invitation at all. And then once word got out that this was a housewife and that she was not even on the list to be invited, it was a security breach, and it was a really big, really big deal. And I want to say, I can't even remember who was president, but I'm going to say it had to have been Obama. It had to have been Obama. Is that right? Well, anyways, guys, you can Google it. Google the story. It was insane, okay? We could do a video on that all on itself. But Andy Cohen says that he really loved the dynamic of the women in DC, and he would not have canceled that franchise. And I kind of wondered if that was a little bit of shade at Potomac, because we know that the Real Housewives of Potomac, Potomac is right there and happening in the Virginia area by, you know, DC. And so technically, they probably could be called the Real Housewives of Washington, D.C. I mean, we know from Ashley's condo, she can see, you know, the Capitol Hill. So they could be the D.C. franchise, but they renamed them, they put them under Potomac. So do you guys think that that is a dig from Andy Cohen to the Real Housewives of Potomac? Like, basically saying he wished they never would have canceled the D.C. franchise? Because that's kind of what I picked up on it. Now, speaking of New Jersey again, we have to go back and visit the fact that Melissa and Teresa presented together at the MTV Music Awards, which I found to be interesting because the last time Melissa was on Watch What Happens Live, she was not, she said her and Teresa hadn't spoken, right? And then all of these podcasts, you know, Joe the brother went on Melissa's podcast and, you know, made the comments about how if it weren't for him and Melissa, you know, they helped put food on Teresa's table because Juicy Joe wasn't working while she was away, and they did this 3-part series. And, you know, he just kept saying that. And it seemed like every time we saw Joe and Melissa in the headlines, it was like, because something was being said about Teresa. Even maybe, I'm not saying it was all that they were being negative or hateful, but the press, every time we heard, lately, I think, since the reunion, we've heard Joe and Melissa, it's been something in regard to Teresa and Louis. Now, we know they were seated together at the MTV Music Awards as well because Bethany Frankel did a live video, and not a live, I'm sorry, she just posted on her story, but Teresa and Louis and Melissa and Joe were like behind her. They were at like a 4-top table by themselves. Tamra says that she ran into Teresa on the red carpet while they were doing press, and to let you guys know, Teresa was actually upset with Tamra and Teddy's podcast because they were talking shit on Louis, and Tamra compared him to Brooks and the whole like faking cancer. Like she just said that Louis gave her like a Brooks vibe, basically. So she says they're like on the red carpet doing press for the MTV Music Awards, and Teresa and Louis are ahead of her and Teddy. And she says like 45 minutes into it, Louis comes over, introduces himself. He's so nice, says, hi, you know, how are you? How's Eddie? How's your son? Which I think is very strange to me. And she says, you know, that he seemed very lovely, and that she told him, she was like, I think your, you know, fiance, I think Teresa's mad at me. And he's like, oh no, she's not. Come here, love bug, honey, come say hi to Tamra. And you know, Teresa comes over and she's so friendly to Tamra and says that they have no problems. There's no issues. She understands. Something along those lines. So it's like, is Louis convincing Teresa like that she needs to make nice with everyone, like, or is he literally like making her like be nice to Tamra and make nice with everyone, or he's gonna get mad at her? Because this isn't like Teresa, right? Teresa's been through so much in her life. I think for a few years when she got home from prison, she just stopped taking people's shit, is kind of what I felt like. And now I know that Louis is like really into like talking about your feelings and gratitude and resentment, and I think all of that is amazing, but I'm just wondering in my head if she is doing this to appease him, or if she's finding her own sense of like inner peace. I did see her on Dina does a YouTube channel now on like meditation and such, and I saw Teresa on there, and she was basically telling Dina, you know, what a great friend Dina had been, and that she had always wanted to find Dina's, you know, inner peace, how Dina got it. She wanted to be like that. And so she's slowly learning Dina's practices for inner peace and self-love and forgiveness and resentment. So maybe she's learning, maybe she's growing, but I just don't think that's the case. That's not the Teresa Giudice that we've been watching for the last 10 or 12 years. So I'm just wondering, like, is she picking and choosing her fights here? Because if she would have been with Juicy Joe and she was pissed at Teresa, she would have had no problem, like, cussing Tamra out on the red carpet, and it would have been a big deal at all. And Juicy would have been like supporting her 100%. Like, yeah, don't talk to my wife that way. You know, I mean, not saying one's better than the other. I'm just saying, like, she doesn't seem the same to me, at least. Comment below what you guys think. Always interested to know what the viewers are thinking. If you guys agree with me, if you don't agree with me, it's okay. We can all get along, right? It doesn't matter who's favorite, who's who. Don't come at me in the comments and tell me I'm just a tree stan account, because I'm not, guys. I welcome everyone to my channel. I love to hear everyone's opinion. I think that it's great. We all have different housewives that we love and appreciate and that we cheer for more than others, and that's okay. We don't have to be enemies. Like, we're all friends of Bravo. Let's just be respectful to each other in the comments, and then we can have fun and talk about housewives and let each other in on what the other person's hearing, right? So have a great Monday, guys. We'll talk soon.